Captain John Miller stood at the viewport of the ISS Frontier, his eyes fixed on the strange object drifting near Jupiter's orbit. It wasn't like anything he had seen before. Smooth, oval-shaped, with a surface that seemed to absorb light, rather than reflect it. "Are you seeing this?" he asked, not turning away from the window. Lily Grant, the ship's communications officer, moved to stand beside him. Her dark hair was pulled back in a tight bun, and her expression was a mixture of wonder and fear. "Yes, sir. And our sensors are picking up unusual energy readings. Nothing like our own technology." It was 2087, and humanity had just begun establishing permanent colonies on Mars and Europa. Space exploration was advancing quickly, but nothing had prepared them for this moment. The moment humans would discover they weren't alone in the universe. Science Officer Alan Pierce joined them, tablet in hand. "Captain, I believe it's a ship, and it appears to be damaged." Miller nodded slowly. "Send a message on all frequencies. Standard greeting protocol." Grant moved to her station, fingers dancing across the console. "Transmitting now." Minutes passed with no response. The tension on the bridge grew with each silent second. "Sir," Pierce said suddenly, "I'm detecting movement inside the vessel, and there's a breach in their hull. They may be in trouble." Miller made his decision quickly. "Prep the shuttle. Pierce, Grant, you're with me. We're going to assist." An hour later, wearing full environmental suits, the three of them drifted through a tear in the alien ship's hull. Their lights cut through the darkness, revealing a sight none of them expected. The interior was filled with bodies, slender, tall figures with skin that resembled polished copper. Most were motionless, but a few were still moving weakly. "They're dying," Pierce whispered, his voice tight. Miller spotted one figure that seemed more alert than the others. It was propped against a wall, breathing heavily, with what appeared to be a wound in its torso. As the humans approached, the alien's eyes opened, 3 black orbs arranged in a triangle on its face. It raised a 6-fingered hand toward them. "Careful," Miller cautioned, moving forward slowly. To everyone's shock, the alien spoke. The words were strange but somehow understandable, as if bypassing their ears and speaking directly to their minds. "Humans," it said. "We are the Zarkai. We flee. We flee from those who consume. They follow us. They will find you too." Grant moved closer, medical kit in hand. "You're injured. Let us help you." The alien, the Zarkai, shook its head. "Too late for me. Must warn, take this." It pressed a small crystal into Miller's gloved hand. "Memory crystal. Contains what you need, what all need." "Who is following you?" Miller asked urgently. "Who are those who consume?" "The consumed," the alien whispered. "Once like you, now empty shells. They take worlds. They take minds. They take everything." Its breathing grew more labored. "Council ignores. Threat grows. You must prepare." Pierce scanned the crystal with his equipment. "Captain, this contains massive amounts of data. Star charts, technical information, it's incredible." The Zarkai's eyes focused one last time. "Humans primitive, but adaptable. Maybe your ignorance will save all." With those words, the light faded from its eyes. Miller looked at his crew members, then back at the crystal in his hand. "Grant, contact Earth immediately. Tell them everything has changed." Back on Earth, governments scrambled to respond to the news. The crystal contained information about hundreds of alien civilizations, faster-than-light travel technology, and warnings about something called the Consumed, a threat moving steadily through the galaxy, destroying everything in its path. President Ellen Ward addressed the United Nations in an emergency session. "Today we face the greatest revelation in human history. We are not alone, and the universe is more dangerous than we ever imagined. But humanity has never backed down from a challenge." As scientists began decoding the crystal's contents, a message was received, the first official communication, from something called the Galactic Council. They were sending representatives to Earth. Humanity's place in the universe was about to change forever. 2 years had passed since the discovery of the alien ship. Earth had changed in ways no one could have imagined. The technology from the Zarkai crystal had advanced human science by decades, and now humanity was ready to take its place among the stars. Ambassador Susan Wright smoothed down her blue uniform as she stood in the transport chamber. Beside her, Major Peter Clark checked his sidearm one last time before securing it in its holster. "Nervous?" he asked, noticing her fidgeting. "Wouldn't you be? We're about to meet 27 different alien species." She took a deep breath. First humans to visit the Galactic Council. The chamber hummed to life. Light swirled around them, and for a moment, they felt weightless. Then, with a flash, Earth disappeared. They rematerialized in a vast hall with ceilings that seemed to reach the sky. The walls shimmered with colors humans had no names for. Around them stood beings of all shapes and sizes, some with multiple limbs, others floating in the air, and a few that seemed made of light itself. A tall, thin creature with blue skin approached them. "Welcome, humans. I am Zilvak's counsel. Greeter, please follow me." As they walked through the hall, Wright and Clark felt many eyes on them. Some gazes seemed curious, others dismissive. Zilvax led them to a massive chamber where representatives sat in rising tiers forming a circle. In the center was an empty platform. "You will speak from there," Zilvax said, pointing to the platform. "Be honest but brief. The council values efficiency." Wright stepped onto the platform, which rose several feet into the air. A hush fell over the chamber. "Honored council members," she began, "I bring greetings from Earth. We come seeking friendship and alliance, especially in the face of the threat known as the Consumed." Murmurs rippled through the assembly. A large creature with reptilian features leaned forward. "Human," it said, its voice deep and rumbling. "Your world is classified as developing. You have only just discovered faster-than-light travel, and that was through the gift of the Zarkai, not your own achievement. Why should we consider you for council membership?" Wright stood tall. "Because the same Zarkai who gave us that technology chose Earth as their final destination. They believed we might see things differently than the council has." Another being, small with glowing eyes, spoke up. "The Zarkai were always impulsive. The Consumed are a concern, yes, but they are far from your sector. This council has managed threats for millennia." "Managed?" Clark said suddenly, stepping forward. "From what we understand, the Consumed have destroyed 12 systems in the past decade alone." The chamber erupted in angry voices. Zilvax moved quickly to Wright's side. "Your military escort should not speak unless addressed," he whispered. New voice cut through the noise, deep and resonant, belonging to a massive being covered in what looked like golden scales. "The human speaks truth we prefer to ignore," it said. "I am Valtor of the Vextor people. We were warriors once, before the Age of Peace, and I say 12 systems in 10 cycles is not management. It is retreat," the reptilian counselor hissed. "The Vextor would have us return to the old ways of war, but we have evolved beyond such primitive solutions." Wright noticed something important in that moment. Despite their advanced technology, the council species seemed afraid. Not just of the Consumed, but of conflict itself. "Earth offers more than just seeking protection," she said. "We bring different perspectives. Humans have a long history of both war and peace. We understand that sometimes you must fight to protect what matters." The council members looked at each other uneasily. Finally, a being of pure light spoke. "We will consider your petition for observer status only. Full membership requires centuries of cultural development. In the meantime, you may establish an embassy here." As they left the chamber, Clark whispered to Wright, "They're terrified. All this technology and they're paralyzed by fear." Wright nodded slowly. "And that might be why the Zarkai came to us. These beings have forgotten how to fight." Behind them, Valtor of the Vextor watched with ancient eyes that had seen countless battles. Perhaps these humans were exactly what the galaxy needed. Back on Earth, NASA Director Frank Collins stared at the holographic display showing the path of the Consumed through the galaxy. The red dots representing destroyed worlds formed a chilling pattern moving steadily toward Council space. "They're not stopping," he said, rubbing his tired eyes. "And the Council is just watching it happen." General Sharon Hayes nodded grimly. "Ambassador Wright's reports confirm it. They have technology we can only dream of, but they've forgotten how to fight. Centuries of peace made them soft." The room was filled with Earth's top military minds and scientists, gathered in the underground facility beneath the Rocky Mountains. The mood was tense but focused. "We need to show them another way," Collins said. "Humanity has something they lack. We understand conflict. We've been fighting each other for our entire history." Lieutenant Nicole Parker, a young tactical officer with bright eyes and a reputation for unconventional thinking, raised her hand. "Sir, I've been studying the Zarkai data on the Consumed. Their ships are massive and powerful, but they follow predictable attack patterns. They don't adapt quickly." Hayes looked interested. "Go on, Lieutenant." Parker walked to the display and brought up schematics of mining equipment. "Our deep space mining rigs have powerful lasers designed to cut through asteroids. With some modifications, they could be effective weapons. The Consumed wouldn't expect attacks from what look like civilian vessels." Across the room, Engineer Daniel Ross spoke up. "I might have something to add." All eyes turned to him. "The Consumed operate as a hive mind. They share thoughts across their fleet. It's what makes them strong, but it could also be a weakness." Projected his own display showing complex signal patterns. "I've been working on a system that could disrupt their communication. Not permanently, but enough to cause confusion in their ranks." General Hayes studied both ideas carefully. The Council would call these approaches primitive. "Exactly," Collins replied with a hint of a smile. "That's our advantage. The Consumed and the Council both think the same way. They rely on overwhelming technological superiority. Neither would expect these kinds of tactics." The next day, Earth's leaders presented their plan to the visiting Council representatives. As expected, most dismissed the ideas immediately. "Mining vessels against warships?" scoffed the reptilian counselor. "Signal disruption against a hive mind that spans light years? These are the desperate ideas of a primitive species." Only Valtor of the Vextor showed interest. After the other representatives left, he approached General Hayes privately. "My species remembers what the others have forgotten," he said, his golden scales catching the light. "Before we joined the Council, we were warriors. We understand the value of unpredictable tactics." He towered over Hayes, but his manner was respectful. "The Council races have grown complacent. They believe their technology makes them invincible. But the Consumed are different. They adapt and absorb. They cannot be defeated by conventional means." "Will you help us convince the others?" Hayes asked. Valtor made a sound that might have been a laugh. "They will not listen until they defeat themselves. But I can offer you this: access to Vextor battle records and training facilities. My people will help yours prepare." Within weeks, human soldiers were training alongside Vextor warriors on a distant moon. Lieutenant Parker's mining vessel conversion program began in secret, with Earth retrofitting dozens of ships. Engineer Ross worked day and night on his disruption system. Now with access to more advanced Vextor technology, Earth was preparing for war while the Council continued diplomatic talks. And somewhere in the darkness of space, the Consumed moved ever closer, devouring everything in their path. The unlikely alliance between humanity and the ancient warrior race was just the beginning. Earth was about to show the galaxy what primitive really meant. The alert came in the middle of Earth's night. The Consumed had breached Council space, hitting the outpost world of Nara Prime. The casualty reports were staggering, millions dead in hours. Commander Kevin Mitchell watched the emergency broadcast from the bridge of the EDS Defender, one of Earth's first true warships. Around him, his crew worked in silent horror as footage showed the Council's fleet being torn apart by the enemy. "They're using standard formation attacks," Mitchell noted, studying the tactical display. "Just like Lieutenant Parker predicted." His second-in-command, Chief Engineer Patricia Warren, nodded grimly. "The Council ships are powerful but predictable. They're fighting like it's a simulation. The communication system chirped. "Commander, we're receiving a distress call from the Proxima mining colony. They're in the path of the consumed but weren't evacuated. The Council deemed them too low priority." Mitchell's jaw tightened. The colony had over 5,000 civilian workers, a mix of humans and friendly alien species. "How far are we?" he asked. 6 hours at maximum speed." Mitchell looked at the orders on his screen. Earth Command had been clear. Observe only. Do not engage. The alliance with the Vextor was still secret, and Earth's new tactics remained untested. He made his decision. "Set course for Proxima. Alert the rest of our squadron." 4 modified Earth ships raced toward the mining colony, arriving just as the first consumed scouts entered the system. Mitchell deployed his forces with unconventional orders. "Remember your training. Use the gas giant's atmosphere for cover. Plant the mines in the asteroid field, and keep communications to short burst transmissions only." As the consumed fleet arrived, 5 massive ships that dwarfed the human vessels, Mitchell's squadron was nowhere to be seen. The enemy began their approach toward the colony. Suddenly, explosions rippled across one of the consumed ships as it passed through. The asteroid field, hidden mines detonated, causing minor damage but major confusion. The enemy vessels paused, their perfect formation breaking slightly. That was the signal Mitchell had been waiting for. "Now!" he ordered. The Defender burst from the gas giants, swirling clouds, its modified mining lasers cutting deep into the wounded enemy ship. 2 other Earth vessels appeared from behind Proxima's moons, launching primitive but effective projectiles. Essentially, metal rods accelerated to incredible speeds. The consumed ships tried to respond, but they seemed confused by the humans' erratic movement patterns. There was no formation, no predictable strategy they could counter. Chief Engineer Warren activated Daniel Ross's disruption system. It wouldn't work for long, but for precious minutes it scrambled the hive mind connection between the consumed vessels. In that window of chaos, Mitchell's squadron tore through the enemy, focusing fire on one ship at a time while staying in constant, unpredictable motion. "Evacuation ships are away," reported the communications officer. "All colonists accounted for." Mitchell nodded. "Begin retreat pattern Delta. Keep the disruption system running until we clear the system." Against all odds, the small human fleet escaped with the colonists, leaving behind 2 destroyed consumed ships and 3 damaged ones. Not a single Earth vessel was lost. The battle recording spread across Council space within days. Species that had dismissed humans as primitive watched in awe as the footage showed Earth ships hiding in gas clouds, using asteroids as weapons, and moving in ways that defied conventional space tactics. In the Council chambers, Valtor stood before the assembly. "You see now what I have been saying. The humans fight differently. They use creativity where we use only power," the reptilian counselor hissed in annoyance. "They disobeyed direct orders to observe only. And in doing so, they saved 5,000 lives," Valtor countered. "Lives you had written off." Across the galaxy, military leaders watched the Battle of Proxima again and again. The humans had done the impossible. They had survived against the consumed using ships that were technological toys compared to Council vessels. For the first time in centuries, the mighty Galactic Council felt something they had forgotten: hope. Admiral Laura Bennett stood tall as she entered the massive Council war room. The circular chamber was filled with representatives from 24 species, all watching her with a mixture of curiosity and skepticism. 3 months had passed since the Battle of Proxima, and in that time the consumed had destroyed 2 more Council worlds. "Admiral Bennett," the Council leader said, a being of shimmering light known as Elder Zinn. "The Council has voted to formally request Earth's assistance in this conflict." Bennett kept her face neutral, though inside she felt a surge of satisfaction. The Council had finally admitted they needed humanity's help. "Earth is willing to assist," she said simply, "but we will need access to your technology. Our tactics are effective, but our ships are still too vulnerable." A murmur ran through the assembled aliens. Valtor of the Vextor stepped forward. "I propose a true alliance," he said. "Not humans serving under Council command, but an equal partnership. The Council provides technology. The humans provide tactical leadership. The reptilian counselor, Seshra, hissed in protest. Give primitives command of our forces. Absurd. Bennett turned to face him directly. Those primitives saved Proxima when your forces retreated, and we did it with ships that your children would consider toys. The chamber fell silent. Even Seshra had no immediate response. Elder Zinn floated forward. The Council approves Admiral Bennett's request. Technology will be shared, and we propose joint training of Special Forces units. Council warriors trained in human combat tactics. Back. On Earth, the implementation began immediately. Dr. Ryan Hughes unveiled his latest creation, a translation system that allowed seamless coordination between different species in combat situations. The earpiece adapts to any language in milliseconds, he explained to the assembled human and alien officers. It doesn't just translate words, it interprets tone, slang, and even emotional content. Meanwhile, Council engineers worked with human shipbuilders to create a new class of vessels. They combined advanced alien technology with human tactical systems and design philosophies. The first of these ships, the USS Horizon, gleamed in Earth's orbit. Captain William Garcia walked its corridors with pride, running his hand along the smooth walls that housed both human and alien technology. How's our engine integration coming along? He asked his chief engineer. Better than expected, sir. The Council warp drive is fully compatible with our systems now. And the weapons array is twice as powerful as we projected. In a training facility on Mars, humans taught Council species the art of guerrilla warfare. It was strange to see beings from across the galaxy learning tactics that humans had used for centuries. Ambushes, feints, asymmetric approaches to combat. Many Council warriors struggled with concepts that seemed obvious to humans. They had relied on superior technology for so long that the idea of using terrain as a weapon or sacrificing position for surprise was alien to them. They're not stupid, Commander Eric Martinez told Admiral Bennett during her inspection tour. They're just over-specialized. They've forgotten how to improvise. Bennett watched as a group of Vextor warriors practiced a flanking maneuver alongside human Marines. Valtor says the Vextor remember being warriors, but even they have lost some of their edge over the centuries. In Council space, reports came in of the consumed changing their tactics, adapting to human strategies. But this was expected. Lieutenant Parker had predicted it in her briefings. The hive mind learns, she had said, but it learns slowly and methodically. We just need to stay one step ahead. As the joint fleet prepared for its first major offensive, Captain Garcia addressed the crew of the Horizon, a mixture of humans and aliens united in purpose. We face an enemy that consumes everything in its path, he said. But they have never faced anything like us before, a union of Council technology and human ingenuity. Tomorrow, we show them what that means. Throughout the galaxy, ships moved into position. The Battle of Arcturus was about to begin, and with it the first true test of the unlikely alliance. The Arcturus system blazed with weapons fire as the largest space battle in Council history unfolded. The Consumed had launched a massive offensive, sending hundreds of ships toward the core Council worlds. This was the moment the Joint Fleet had been preparing for. Captain William Garcia stood on the bridge of the USS Horizon, watching tactical displays as the battle spread across the system. Around him, human and alien crew members worked together with practiced efficiency. Enemy formation breaking into 3 groups, reported his tactical officer. They're adapting to our standard attack patterns. Garcia nodded. Just as Lieutenant Parker predicted, signal the fleet to switch to pattern Omega. Across the battlefield, the Joint Fleet's ships abruptly changed tactics. Where they had been fighting in small coordinated groups, they now regrouped into seemingly chaotic formations that made no sense to conventional military minds. The Consumed forces hesitated, their hive mind struggling to process this unexpected shift. In that moment of confusion, the human-led forces struck hard at their command ships. The Horizon is in position, Garcia said into the fleet-wide channel. Strike team, prepare for deployment. Deep within the ship, Commander Eric Martinez checked his gear one last time. Around him, a mixed team of human and alien soldiers did the same. They were about to attempt something no one had ever done: board a consumed vessel. "Remember," Martinez told his team, "we move fast, we plant the disruptors, and we get out. 20 minutes max." The team's technical specialist, Amy Foster, secured the final disruptor device to her pack. These advanced versions of Daniel Ross's original design were their key to victory. "The disruptors will work," she said with quiet confidence. "They'll cut off communication between ships for at least 10 minutes. Martinez nodded. 10 minutes is all Admiral Bennett needs. In another part of the system, Admiral Bennett watched from her command ship as the horizon approached the heart of the enemy fleet. Everything depended on Garcia and Martinez succeeding. "All ships," she ordered, "prepare for Phase 2. The moment those disruptors activate, hit the designated targets with everything you have." The Horizon used its advanced cloaking technology, a blend of council science and human ingenuity, to slip past the outer defenses of the consumed armada. When they were in position, Garcia gave the order: "Launch the strike team." Martinez led his team across the void in specialized boarding crafts. They landed on the hull of the massive consumed command ship, using cutting tools to create an entry point. Once inside, they encountered the true horror of their enemy. The consumed were not machines as some had thought, but twisted organic beings, former members of various species now connected to a central network. Their bodies were more metal than flesh, with glowing circuits running beneath gray skin. "Stay focused," Martinez reminded his team as they fought their way through narrow corridors. "Plant the disruptors at the marked locations." The team split into pairs, each heading to different parts of the ship. Martinez and Foster made for the central command node. 30 seconds, Foster whispered as she worked to install the main disruptor. Around them, the consumed were becoming more aware of their presence, converging on their position. "Done," she finally called. Martinez hit his communicator. "All teams report." One by one, the other teams confirmed their devices were placed. Martinez sent the signal to the horizon. "Get us out of here," he ordered. The team fought their way back to their entry point as the disruptors began to power up. Across the system, Admiral Bennett received the signal she had been waiting for. "They're in place. All ships commence attack on my mark." When the disruptors activated, the effect was immediate and dramatic. The perfect coordination of the consumed fleet collapsed into disorder. Ships fired randomly or stopped moving entirely. Some even began to fire on their own allies. In that moment of chaos, the joint fleet struck with devastating precision. Following human battle plans, they focused all firepower on key targets, destroying dozens of enemy vessels in minutes. For the first time in the long war against the consumed, the Council forces weren't retreating, they were advancing. And at the center of it all was the USS Horizon, already extracting Martinez's team and preparing for the next phase of the battle. The tide had turned. The Battle of Arcturus would be remembered as the first major victory against an enemy that had seemed unstoppable, and it had been made possible by the unlikely partnership between advanced alien technology and human combat tactics. The victory at Arcturus changed everything. For the first time in decades, the consumed were in retreat, but scientist Olivia Rodriguez knew the war was far from over. In her lab aboard the research station Odyssey, she studied pieces of technology recovered from destroyed consumed ships. Day after day, she examined the strange circuits and organic components under powerful microscopes. There was something familiar about the design, something that didn't make sense. "Dr. Rodriguez?" Her assistant knocked on the door frame. "Admiral Bennett is here to see your findings." Rodriguez straightened up as the Admiral entered the lab. Bennett had become a legendary figure since Arcturus, respected by humans and aliens alike. "What have you found?" Bennett asked, skipping any pleasantries. Rodriguez pointed to her display screen. "Look at this circuit pattern. Now look at this one." She brought up another image. The first is from a consumed ship. The second is from ancient technology found in Council archives, created by a species called the predecessors. Bennett studied, The images. Even to her untrained eye, the similarities were striking. What are you saying? The consumed weren't naturally evolved, Rodriguez said, her voice steady but her eyes intense. They were engineered, created as weapons by these predecessors, whoever they were. She pulled up more images and data. Based on genetic samples, the consumed were once normal beings from various species. They were transformed using this technology, turned into living weapons. Bennett frowned. Why would anyone create such a thing? According to Council historical records, the predecessors were at war about 50,000 years ago. They created the consumed to end that war. Rodriguez took a deep breath. But something went wrong. The weapons turned on their creators. And they've been consuming everything since then, Bennett finished. Rodriguez nodded. But here's the important part. They follow programming, actual code embedded in their central hive nodes. They're not just monsters. They're machines carrying out instructions, and machines can be hacked. Bennett understood immediately. You think we can shut them down? Maybe. The programming is beyond complex, but there are patterns. Weaknesses. Rodriguez pulled up another display. And I think I know where to find the master control codes. The predecessors must have had failsafes. Across the galaxy, Ambassador Susan Wright was presenting Rodriguez's findings to the Council. The chamber was silent as the implications became clear. If Dr. Rodriguez is correct, Wright explained, there may be a command center somewhere, a place where the predecessors controlled their weapons. If we can find it, we might be able to shut down all consumed simultaneously. The reptilian counselor Seshra was skeptical. And where would this magical control center be? The predecessors vanished 50,000 years ago. Valtor stepped forward. Not entirely. My people have legends about a place called the Forge, a station near the galactic core where the Ancient Ones created wonders and horrors alike. Elder Zin joined the conversation. The Vextor legends align with our oldest records. There is indeed a structure orbiting the black hole at our galaxy's heart. We believed it abandoned, too dangerous to approach. Ambassador Wright looked around the chamber. Then that's our target, a joint mission to find this control center. Planning began immediately. The USS Horizon would lead a fleet to protect a special team that would infiltrate the station. Captain John Miller, now recovered from his injuries after first contact, with the Zarkai, volunteered to lead the ground team. The Zarkai came to us first for a reason, he told Admiral Bennett. They must have known about this connection. As the fleet prepared, Rodriguez made another discovery that explained even more. I know why the consumed never attacked Earth before the Zarkai arrived, she told Bennett and Miller. Their programming targets advanced civilizations first. We were too primitive to register as a threat. Miller laughed without humor. Our backwardness saved us, and now it might save everyone. The mission was set. One final push to end the war forever. As the fleet prepared to depart, humans and aliens worked side by side, united by a common purpose. The fate of the galaxy would be decided near a black hole, at an ancient station built by a long-dead race, by the most unlikely guardians of all more humans from Earth. The black hole at the galaxy's center loomed before them, a darkness that swallowed light itself. Around it orbited the predecessor's command station, a massive ring structure that glittered with ancient technology still functioning after 50,000 years. Admiral Bennett stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Defender, as the combined fleet moved into defensive positions. The consumed forces are approaching, her tactical officer reported. Hundreds of ships, maybe more. Bennett nodded calmly. They know why we're here. Deploy according to plan. The strike team needs time to reach the command center. Captain John Miller led his team toward the ancient station in a specialized shuttle. With him were Lieutenant Nicole Parker, Engineer Daniel Ross, and representatives from 3 alien species. A Vextor warrior, a Council Tech specialist, and a survivor from the Zarkai. Final approach, Miller said as the shuttle navigated toward a docking port. Everyone remember the mission. We find the central control room and upload Dr. Rodriguez's shutdown sequence. The station's artificial gravity pulled them in. After docking, they moved through corridors that had not seen living beings in millennia. The air was stale but breathable, maintained by systems designed to last forever. Outside, the battle began. The consumed attacked with desperate fury, as, if they sensed the threat to their very existence, the combined fleet fought back using every tactic humans had taught them, every technology the Council had developed. Inside the station, Miller's team faced challenges of their own. Automated defense systems dormant for ages activated at their presence. Ancient robots and energy barriers blocked their path. "The station thinks we're intruders," Ross said as he worked to bypass a sealed door. "Which we are, I guess." Lieutenant. Parker studied the station schematics Rodriguez had pieced together from Council records. The control center should be 2 levels up at the heart of the ring. As they fought their way deeper into the station, the battle outside intensified. The Defender took heavy damage protecting the station from consumed ships. Admiral Bennett's second-in-command said urgently, "We can't hold them much longer." Bennett's face showed no fear. "We hold as long as we must. The strike team will succeed." Inside the station, Miller's team finally reached the control center, a vast chamber filled with crystalline computers and viewscreens showing the entire galaxy. In the center stood a single control pedestal. Ross rushed to it, connecting his equipment to interfaces that had waited 50 millennia for this moment. "I'm in. Uploading Rodriguez's program now." An alarm sounded. The station's automated. Voice spoke in an ancient language their translators struggled to decode. The meaning was clear enough. Self-destruct sequence initiated. "How long?" Miller asked. 10 minutes, the Vextor warrior translated. "But there's more. The shutdown command must be activated manually. Someone has to stay." They looked at each other, the reality sinking in. The station was going to explode, taking the black hole's orbit with it. "I'll do it," Miller said before anyone could volunteer. "The rest of you get back to the shuttle." Parker started to protest, but Miller cut her off. "That's an order, Lieutenant. Earth needs its best tactician. The galaxy needs all of you." There were quick embraces, no time for long goodbyes. As the team raced back to their shuttle, Miller turned to the control pedestal. Outside, Admiral Bennett received the message from the escaping shuttle. She ordered an immediate retreat for all ships. As the fleet pulled back, the consumed forces surged forward, sensing victory. They were wrong. In the ancient control room, Captain John Miller waited until the final moment. When his team was safely away, he activated the command. Across the galaxy, every consumed ship, soldier, and base suddenly went dormant. The hive mind connection severed forever. Minutes later, the station exploded in a burst of light bright enough to be seen across thousands of light years. 1 month later, in the council chamber, humanity was granted not just full membership but a special title, Guardians of the Peace. An honor not bestowed on any species for 50,000 years. Ambassador Wright accepted with humility. "We came to the stars as newcomers, seen as primitive and backward. We found our place not through superior technology, but through the very things that make us human: adaptability, creativity, and the willingness to sacrifice for others." 5. Years later, Earth had become a hub of interstellar diplomacy and commerce. Advanced alien technology blended seamlessly with human innovation. In what was once New York's Central Park stood a memorial to those who had given their lives to save the galaxy. Captain Miller's name was at the top, and in space the next generation of human explorers prepared for their mission. The galaxy was at peace, but there were still stars to discover, mysteries to solve. Humanity had found its purpose among the stars, not conquering, not ruling, but guarding and protecting. They were the unlikely guardians, and they had only just begun.